Yo, 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 it's Sauly being the place to be. Feeling young, feeling free. I hope you're doing well. Okay, this is just an idea. Like, I decided to do like a little introduction to permaculture based on some drawings and like a little book by Burnett. He's like an awesome dude. And actually, I went to his permaculture classes in London, and he really inspired me, especially his books. They're like super clear, and if you're interested in permaculture and essentially building back better, yeah, you should start with his books because they're super clear, and they offer a really great foundation for the journey that I've certainly been having in permaculture and the world and the universe. So, without further ado, let's have a look. So, this is the first page, um, and it starts with a quote, and I'm just going to read that. It's by Bill Mollison, one of the founders. Permaculture is basically a radical approach to food production and urban renewal, water, energy, pollution. It integrates ecology, landscape, organic gardening, architecture, and agroforestry. This creates a rich and sustainable way of living, uses appropriate technology, giving high yields for low energy input, achieving a resource of great diversity and stability, and it's applicable to urban and rural dwellers. So yeah, there you go. It just sounds amazing, right? So yeah, the next page is about the industrial cup of tea, and yeah, on this page he's talking about the fact that humans are living on the edge of eco disaster. In fact, we are possibly living in it now. We are only a tiny piece of the Earth's history, so if we compress the Earth's history to 30 days, human appeared in the last minute, and the Industrial Revolution is in the last fraction of a second. But in this last fraction of a second, we changed the Earth so much, like incredibly. With the diagram, on the left you've got all the inputs. You need the forest. This is to make the cup of tea. You need the forest, water, oil, gas, coal, nuclear power. Yeah, and then he's just going through the whole process of like what you need to like. So for instance, you need heat to like heat the tea, and so you need all this like different energy sources, and then you need water of course to put in the tea, so you need like water sources, and like the process to get the water, and then obviously to like make the tea, for the packaging, for the agriculture, and the tea bags, the wrapping, the box we put in the little plastic packaging, the one-use tea bags, and then it's talking about like the outputs, and then you've got like, so for instance, a human drinks the tea, then he pees, then it gets the pee gets treated with chemicals, and then that leaches into the rivers. Then you got like the tea bag, it's put into a bin and then thrown into landfill. That's another output. And then you got the box, and like, so like then the outputs are also like nuclear waste, agrochemicals, oil spillage, greenhouse gases, pollution, deforestation, and vehicle emissions, because obviously vehicle emissions are transporting everything around. So I mean, ultimately, just to make this little cup of tea, to have your little cup of tea, there's like a whole process that goes on. And like, this isn't just for tea, like this is for like most products that you'll find in the supermarket. So now he's comparing it with the permaculture cup of tea, and in this page he talks about the eco crisis being about how the way humans consume, and how permaculture is about turning this around so we create a world without destruction and pollution, so we can all enjoy clean air, fresh water, good quality food, meaningful work, and leisure. Through permaculture, we can repair the earth and move society towards a better relationship with the natural world. And if we look into on the diagram, it's like a closed loop system. So you have the inputs, but then the outputs are going out and then back into the system. So, for instance, you got the rain, and then that waters the tea plant, and then like you take the seeds and they're potted and the earth from the ground, and they're made into new trees and then put back in to make new tea. And then even like the pee from the person who drinks the tea is put back into the soil for the tea. And you put the used leaves back into the ground, and then the water is harvested from the house, and then you get the heat from like solar energy. So there's pretty much no carbon footprint in this system here. So in this next one, we got a picture here, and you can see there's a lot of stuff going on, like very full. A little village, we got solar panels, we got like people mini gardens, rooftop gardens, and then the gardens here, there, like, it's just very colorful. People living, like, there's a taxi bus, so people are living in the nature, basically. Permaculture means permanent culture. It's a design system created by Bill and David as a response to the serious challenges of survival that humans face. At its roots, it's looking at sustainable food growing, but now it's evolved to look at how we can live harmoniously with the earth and its finite resources. It has many definitions. One is creating sustainable human habitats by following nature's patterns. So at the heart of permaculture, you've got its core values, and they remain consistent wherever we go, whether it's in a tiny flat, 2,000 hectares of forest, or a village. So these are the three fundamental principles. Earth care, so it's like caring for the earth, respecting Gaia as the source of life. Fair share, so using the earth's limited resources in ways that are equitable and wise. And then people care, helping each other and ourselves to live sustainably. And so, if you just look at the situation you're in and see if you can apply, like, how well you're doing in each of these three things, and ultimately you want to tick all three circles in this situation, in your situation, then you're, like, on course. Permaculture is about noticing the patterns in everything. In this way we can understand how nature is working and apply it in our gardens. If nature wants to move in these ways, why we make everything into squares? So like if you look at the diagram, see how like there's similarities between the patterns of lightning, a tree, a lung, and then like irrigation channels, and then you've got like the wave that from the ocean. It's like similar to a musical note, and then you got like the patterns of like mushroom, jellyfish, flowworms, they're similar, and then like the spiral from the snail, herb spiral, sunflower, galaxy. So there's all these different patterns in nature that you can look at, and it's like a way of understanding it and seeing how things are working. It's not just squares. And like a cool video to watch on YouTube is by Jeff Lawton, and he explains about patterns. That's really cool. So working with nature, not against it. So in this diagram, you've got like it kind of shows how all the different animals and stuff and trees and everything is contributing in different ways. So like you got a bird, and that's doing pest control because it's killing the flies. You got a rabbit, it's like mowing the grass, like cutting the grass. The bird's pooing, that's like creating a fertile seed for growing a tree. The leaves are falling off the tree to make compost. The bees pollinating. The like worms are aerating the soil. The ground cover, plants fixing nitrogen in the soil. So all of this is kind of like working, and understanding this is key, because like if in modern agriculture we eliminate all these like things that is going to help us do the work for us. So we have to do the work ourselves, like applying fertilizer, like aerating the soil, blah blah blah, composting. And so we're just like making it difficult for ourselves. So understanding this is key. So in this one, he says, see solutions, not problems. So this is referring to a quote by Bill Mollison, which is saying you haven't got a slug problem, you've got a duck deficiency. So basically, if you got too many slugs, all you got to do is put in a bunch of ducks and they'll eat the slugs. Yeah, also another thing with ducks is like they're really useful for other things. I don't know if you've seen how they use ducks for rice fields. Yeah, I think they eat all the slugs in the rice field. And I saw Jeff Lawton use it to make a food forest, because like he puts them in and they basically eat all the weeds and do poos, so like they fertilize the soil, so they speed up the process of making a food forest. But essentially what this page is trying to say is that we can find solutions for all of the problems. We just have to look at it in a certain way. So every function should be supported by many elements. Okay, so like in this one he's shown a picture of a monoculture farm. So he's basically saying that like if you grow one crop, if that crop fails, you've got nothing. For instance, like there might be like an insect that like comes in its droves and just eats everything. And like because they're well adapted to just eating that, they'll just like chomp it away and multiply, and just like blah, 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 everything will be gone. But if you grow stuff in diversity, just like how nature wants to be, like diverse, lots of things growing, then if one thing goes down, you've got all the other stuff to rely on. And this is kind of like similar to like having many skills. So like if you have a job and you only know one job and you're only good at doing one thing, then like if you lose your job, then you're lost. But if you have many skills, then you can do all sorts of things. That's kind of like similar analogy. Every element should serve many functions, some yields and functions of a tree. So in this one he's basically talking about like we need to look at every element in nature, like, and all of its functions. If we look at this tree, it has so many uses. Like it provides shelter for wildlife, provides shade, shelters crops that don't need so much sun, and then it provides fuel, furniture, like wood for furniture. It's medicinal. You can have nuts. It can give you nuts. It can give you mulch and leaves. You can use it for biofuels. It also, of course, makes CO2. It acts as a windbreak for the wind. It collects water. Then in the roots, it checks erosion and draws minerals from the soil. It's it does so many things. The tree is multifunctional, and we need to understand its uses so we can apply it efficiently. So yield is limited only by imagination. So when we're having a multifunctioning garden, we have to use a lot of creativity, and we can expand our yield in so many different ways. There's so many different techniques, and we're just constantly learning and changing our systems and to make them more efficient and to create more abundance. When I work on permaculture farms, it's like an open canvas. I have to do research. I have to understand the plants, what they need, what I can use them for, how I can get mulch for compost, blah 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 blah. So it's super creative thing, and you're constantly learning infinitely, which is amazing. It's not just you're growing one thing and you just do the same job every day. I've worked on monoculture farms, and I just do the same thing. I pretty much learn. I'm very limited to what I learn, limited in what I learn. Okay, so stacking. So now we're on to the food forest thing, and this is super amazing thing in permaculture. But actually, the food forest. I was reading a book about how the Mayans forest gardens. So gardeners. So they've been doing this for thousands of years. It's just like permaculture is just regenerating this idea. And basically, you've got all the different layers. You've got like the big trees, the low tree layer, shrub layer, herbaceous, rhizosphere, vertical, the climbers, the ground covers. And like basically, in one single space, you can have 7 different things growing, you know. It's like a full utilization of the space, and you can change all these things. Like it's mimicking a forest, but you can have food for every layer, like food growing for every layer, which is crazy. So I would advise looking at a video on YouTube by Jeff Lawton about food forests to gain some inspiration. Yeah, like the food forest is going to change everything once we get food forests everywhere. I mean, it's just going to be a game changer. Like there'll just be food everywhere. So everything cycles, and he's used the legendary compost toilet as an example. And like I didn't realize how huge this like idea was, the compost toilet, when I first found out about it. I thought it was just like a kind of like a bit gimmicky, but actually it's unbelievable. It's like if we can like turn our poo into soil, and there's ways of doing it now these days, like speeding up the process. Because before we'd just poo in the ground, and it would just go in the ground, but like it would take a while to absorb. But like we can speed up the process, and also like keep away disease and stuff like that. But if you read there's a great book called The Humanure Handbook, and it's amazing, and it's telling you all about poo, and actually how the sewage system is like kind of detrimental, and it's like poisoning the water. And if we have this process of composting our poo, we can create like a cyclical thing where we're benefiting the soil. So like whatever you take from the earth, you put back in. So if you eat a fruit, then you put it out, it comes out like soil, you put it back into the soil. So this is way cool. It's talking about zones, and this is just kind of like an archetype design, because like you can apply it to cities or like whatever, but it's just a kind of archetype design for maximum efficiency of your home. So if you separate things into zones, like you can make life easier for yourself. So you've got the zone 0, which is your house, and that's just all the things that you like need the most, like your bed, you sleep in it every day, so you need to, and like your kitchen, blah 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 blah, all the essentials. But then extending outside your house, you got the garden, like all the things that you pick every day, or stuff that needs like regular maintenance. Then you like go outwards, and then to things that like you need but you don't need so often. So you got the forest outside, for raw materials and stuff like that, and things like that. Yeah, permaculture is all about making life easier, and like we make life so much complicated for ourselves, because it's all just a big mess, because an industrial revolution just like went so fast. But that's why permaculture is so good, because it's actually about productive planning, so we can make life easier for ourselves, so we don't have to like go far for things that we don't need to. So he's talking about rolling permaculture here. So he's kind of talking about like how permaculture can be like a process, like because we need time to rearrange things. So for instance, like a depleted soil needs a few years to like rehabilitate itself. So I can't really explain this so much, but it's like we just got to keep things rolling. We just got to keep get projects started, and like like plant the seeds, and like things that aren't going to happen overnight, that just like we just do things rolling, like plant the trees, like create the space, make the soil, begin the process of making soil, blah 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 blah. And that's how we're going to change our planet into a permaculture planet. I think the pictures are all muddled anyway. So yeah, we're talking about zone 0 here, and like at zone 0 we work to make everything energy eco-efficient. So we're going to have solar panels, we're going to recycle our waste, we're going to have eco houses, like made out of materials, sustainable materials. Everything's going to be like no plastics, everything's going to be reusable, blah 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 blah. Yeah, so and then like I was saying about zones 1 and 2, this is the garden. So look here, all the stuff's growing all around. It's like easily accessible. You can just walk and go and like pick your food for your lunch, whatever. And also like you can give your good care to the plants. Like mulch. You can mulch them. You can water them. You can like check to see if everything is doing good. You can prune. And like yeah, so this is ideal to have your garden in the zone 1 and 2, surrounding the house. If you notice here, the food to table is going to be so small. Like you only walk a few meters to get your food on the table, whereas like in the modern society, the food to table is crazy. Like there could be like apples that get flown over to one country to get packaged and then flown back. Like that's crazy food miles. So in this picture, he's got his design ideas. So he's comparing. A garden, a conventional garden, like which has got a lawn. A lawn is kind of one of the most pointless things, and it's just conventional. It's got all some stuff, some cool stuff here. We got a composter, we got a greenhouse, blah blah blah, and then like using permaculture principles, he's transformed it. So like there's a lot of diversity here, and I wrote something about this. Let me just see. Yeah, utilizing the space. He's utilizing the space. He's not wasting any space. He's made a pond, so animals. It attracts animals and insects and stuff like that, and he's created biodiversity. It's way more productive and it's more beautiful. And it's not just squares. It's in curves. Like that's the same way that nature works. Sorry, I got all my pictures in the wrong place. Yeah, so like this is zone 3 and 4, and yeah, this is like broader scale strategies for a sustainable future. So so he split the graph in half. Like that's what it looks like in the beginning. Like the monoculture farming, and then like on the right you've got a lot of things going on here, full of life, full of abundance, like a jungle. It's amazing. And so here, community economics. So this is just talking about like a modern supermarket, and you've got all these outputs like profits, advertising, packaging, transport. 80p is going out of the community, 20p is going back into the community. So the community is like organizing this shop, but there's a lot of stuff that's just going out of it. Oh God, I don't know how to explain this so well, but essentially, like you want your shop to be like kept within like the community. So, if it's like growing its own food and then selling it in the shop, and then like people are coming to buy the food, and then they're paying the money inwards, and like it's going back into the community. Like we want to keep that, and if you look into transition towns, that can explain that a little bit better. And so here's just talking about working together. So like if we're working together in the community, everyone's like exchanging their skills, like giving their skills. It's like within a closed loop system. We don't need to look for external support, and like can grow together and grow the community. It's not like people are going outside of the community to get jobs. For instance, here in Livingston, where I'm staying, a lot of the community got ruined because they all went to America to find jobs to get money, but they can only send money back into the community. They can't give their skills, they can't give their strength, their building skills, their growing skills, all the different skills that they can offer that like is needed within the community to help it grow. It's not just money that you need for a community. Yeah, and for the final sketch, so this is like a picture of people celebrating in an apple orchard, and like I guess in this apple orchard there's loads of different types of apples that like are growing, because there's thousands of different types of apples that can be grown in the UK, but in the shops they've just been reduced to 6 apples because the apples like I don't know how to explain it. It's like monoculture farmed. They've been like specifically chosen because they're the most favorite apple, and it like takes out the diversity of it, takes out the nutrient density of it, and it just takes out the fun of it. So this is a community orchard, so they've all come together to celebrate the apple harvest, and like that's bringing people together. um, bring the community together, and you can celebrate the food and like eat together, and that's what we want as humans, you know. And that's been prevented because like where's the apple harvest? Somewhere across from the other side of the world, you know, and you can get apples from like all the time, from like all, you know, all time, all year round, and we've lost the connection, you know. So yeah, and there you've had it. Have it. It's the my introduction to permaculture. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got this far, well done. Like, I'm very impressed because it was kind of a bit ramshackle and all over the place, but you know, it was an idea and I tried my best. And yeah, so like I hope you enjoyed it and you got a better understanding of permaculture in general.